Not long ago, I was running my business across maybe 50 different tools. So we're talking Slack, Notion, spreadsheets, the Google Docs, another CRM, more browser tabs than I could even keep track of. And every single morning, I had to manually reconstruct where everything was just to start working. Now, literally each morning I open one thing, I open my phone and it already knows everything. It knows my clients, it knows my metrics, it knows my priorities, basically all of it. And it's not just some random dashboard, it's all hosted on Claude where I built my own workspace. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I've set up my own workspace so you can build it yourself and replicate my system. As a side note, this is the actual system that I use to run my business on a day-to-day basis. So clients, metrics, data, etc. It's not a demo, so I'm probably going to have to blur a lot of those things out because data is very, very sensitive. So let me actually show you what I actually mean with that. Now, before I even walk you through the actual files, I want to show you the mental model behind all of this, because once you understand the architecture, the whole setup makes a lot more sense. So basically, everything that you do starts here in your business, and whatever you do, what you sell, what you deliver, what clients you manage, what content you create, that's the core, and everything else gets built around this. Around that, you have all your data sources and the tools that are already running your business. So we're speaking your payment processor, your Stripe, your CRM, your email platform, your analytics. These exist whether you have Claude Code or not. Most businesses have around 10 to 20, sometimes more of these. And the problem is that they all live in separate places, separate logins, separate tabs. We've got two-factor authentication. So what we do with this is we literally centralize this whole aspect. Now the next layer, layer 2, as you can see here, is where it gets a bit more interesting. So Claude Code sits on top of all of that. It's not replacing your tools, it's generally just connecting them. And this workspace becomes like a central brain. It knows about your numbers, knows your pipeline, knows your clients, knows your content, basically all of it in one singular database. Now, inside the workspace, you have three things that actually make it work. The first one is the context file. So everything that Claude actually needs to know about you and your business. So who you are, what you're building, your clients, your strategy, your metrics. You write this once and it loads it every session. The second are the commands. So custom/commands that trigger specific workflows. For me personally, I have one installed that is /prime, boots up all the full briefing data every morning. I have a commit command, I have a /implement command, I have a /brief command that just helps me to save, update, brief my staff, brief the people that we're working with, etc. This is where you can actually build the ones that match how you work and they're going to support you throughout. So for example, your business is faced with a lot of invoices. You can set up a command with /create invoice and then it will automatically run. Now, the third aspect here are the automations. So those are scripts that collect data from your tools. They keep your workspace updated automatically, and you set this once, and then it runs in the background. So this is really just a good way to automatically update all the data from those different data sources, so that way you don't have to chase around and manually put it into spreadsheets and take screenshots and send it to Claude and stuff like that. Next up, layer 4 is the output layer. And this is what the whole thing produces. So for example, what you can do is setting up a daily brief that lands every morning with everything you need to have to actually make decisions. What you can also have is a Telegram bot on your phone. So you can run your business agent from anywhere. You can create custom reports. For example, for a recent build that we developed for another business owner, he specifically wanted marketing reports. And so you can really become creative with this one. This is how you can actually make informed decisions. Right, so this is the whole diagram. This is the whole structure and how it works. Let me actually show you what this looks like in practice. Cool. Now, before we kick off, let me actually just walk you a bit through how that workspace is structured. So if you pan aside to the left here, we've got, first of all, the title of it, and this is all hosted in VS Code. You've got the .claude command. In that .claude folder, we've got specific use cases. So first of all is the commands, the / commands that we've talked about, the custom ones. Then you have the skills that you need it to do. Now, whether that is integrating into a server, creating a specific thumbnail. And then we also have the work trees. The work trees here are essentially commands back to back to back. So that means that, for example, the agent can act independently. Once we close that Claude, next up is the applications. You don't have to worry about that too much. This is basically all going to get created automatically by Claude if you have set this up correctly. Now onto the context file, which is in my opinion the biggest use case and the biggest leverage for every business, because this is actually where AI has the context of your full business and what you're doing. So everything in terms of business info, what you're doing, the funnel that you're running, how you actually close your customers, what your personal info is. I've literally attached it to blood work that I have gotten done and my testosterone level. So completely absorbed data, but it now can backtrack that and actually help me improve my health as well, all the way through to strategy as well. Next up is the data. And data is, as you can see, there's a bunch of funny ending documents here. With data, this is where the data gets stored. Pretty straightforward. It's all hosted in databases, and those get updated with the automatic cron jobs, as we call them, that run, for example, every morning at 6 a.m. They update your database and you've got the up-to-date data in there, and this all gets stored in those databases. And each database has a specific, for example, usage, whether there is a database for your Stripe, whether there is a database for your YouTube subscribers, whether there's a database for your client churns, whether there's a database for the amount of customers that have churned recently, etc., etc. Another one that is going to be very prominent for you is going to be the outputs folder. This is where you can categorize, and this is where you actually get the outputs from the AI. So whether that is you wanting to create, like I do here, a proposal, all the way through to an invoice, all the way through to a PDF on what we can actually say on a testimonial, etc., etc. So that way you have one specific folder where your AIOS puts the stuff out, and you can use that, and it's all hosted on your computer as well. Now lastly, you've got here two more documents that you're probably not going to open very much, but they're going to be super important. For example, .env. This is super important because this is where all your APIs keys get stored. Now I'm obviously not going to open that up because that's like me portraying my card information publicly, but this is where all of your API keys get stored, because what can happen is you can publish this to GitHub, you can publish this to an online database where you can store your progress. In a sense, you can create that checkpoint, but you naturally don't want your API keys floating around there. So with that .env file, Claude Code will never actually publicly show that. And even if you ask it, hey, what are my API keys? It will tell you to look in the env folder because it logistically cannot give you those API keys. So that way you literally just protect yourself, your business, and your money as well. And lastly is Claude MD and History MD. History MD, very useful, because this is where you can actually see what has been done on a daily basis. You can backtrack, and whenever Claude messes up, you can always tell it to go back to the specific date and reconstruct everything. Right, so let me actually walk you through how this is laid out and why each piece is there. So the first thing you see when you open this workspace is the Claude.md file. That's the most important file in the entire setup. Every time you start a new Claude Code session, this file is automatically loaded. So Claude reads it before it does anything else. Think of it as the briefing document that you'd hand to a new employee on day one, except just you write it once and it literally works forever. So mine has a few key sections. For example, what this is, the Claude user relationship, how it should perform. Then essentially that it should give me brutal honesty. Something that I've struggled with a lot is it was very agreeable. So when I told it I don't feel like doing it, it said, yeah, fine, no worries. And then also the workspace structure. Next up is the context folder. And this is your background intelligence layer. So we're talking about business info, funnel, personal info, strategy, everything that it needs about me and my business and what I need to do to actually become successful with it. So it's all written once, loaded constantly. Strategy.md is exactly the same thing. What I'm actually trying to achieve right now, the current priorities, active campaigns, basically what matters most this month. And this one I update regularly. Next one up is the key metrics. Key metrics, the setup that we have, how many cold email leads we're getting, how many prospects we've spoken to, the recent leads that we have, the data freshness, etc., etc. So that way we can actually guarantee that the data is fresh and that the Claude Code actually knows what it's talking about in context to the business. Now the commands live in Claude under commands as well. And Claude picks them up automatically and registers them as /command. For example, this here is my /prime command, and it executes everything that it needs to run, everything that it needs to read, etc., etc. So that way we can actually understand how does this work. And that way can also update the data very, very regularly. So that way it knows the full context and the data is very, very fresh. So that's basically how the library grows. So that's the foundation. Claude.md, context files, commands. If you stop there and just use those 3 things consistently, it'll already change how you work. So what I showed in the diagram, the data pipeline, the automations, the daily brief, those all sit on top of this, right? That's where you can actually connect your tools. So Stripe, your CM, your email, they feed into this workspace automatically so that your metrics are always live. I won't go too deep on the automation there today. That's a full video on its own. But the point is you're not doing everything at once. You're layering it custom to your business. So context first, command second, automations third, and the outputs is the fourth. And with each layer, you add leverage. However, each layer only works because the one underneath is actually solid. Now, this workspace has replaced more tools than I can personally count. It's where I plan, it's where I execute, it's where I review, where I make decisions. And the longer I use it, the smarter it actually gets, because it constantly keeps learning and the context files keep getting better. Now, the thing what most people miss when they start using Claude Code is that the tool is really only as good as what you put into it. Now, if you want to see what this looks like for your specific business, so we're speaking about your tools, your data, your workflows, the link is in the description. You can grab a custom call with me and my co-founder, and we'll map this out together. After this session, you will still walk away with value, whether we work together or not. Now, if this was also useful, subscribe down there. I'm posting every week on what's actually working, and I'm giving it back in a language that you can actually understand, and we cut all the jargon that you don't even need to know. Let me know if you've enjoyed this video with a like so we can push the algorithm and even more people can see it. Otherwise, subscribe, and down below you can book yourself that call. I will see you on the next one. Somewhere here is going to be another video on Claude Code that you can watch if you're interested in this topic, so that we can actually implement this and start building yourself. As always, I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.